My name is Julie Turney, and this is the HR Sound Off podcast show, the show created for HR and business professionals to discuss pertinent topics and trends as it relates to our professions. We're going to have amazing conversations with HR professionals from all over the world, get to learn their origin stories. How did they get into this profession? What do they love about being here? And how they want to set the record straight on that one misconception that really drives them crazy about our profession. Are you ready? I'm ready. Then let's sound off. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the HR Sound Off podcast show. My name is Julie Turney, and I am your host. How are you doing today? I hope that you're having an amazing day. We're going to have an interesting conversation. I love magnifying HR voices. And today I get the privilege, the honor, the pleasure to magnify the voice of John Baldino. John, how are you doing?
Hi, Julie. Thank you so much.
Great. How are you doing today? Doing good?
Doing really, really well. Yeah, great. That intro got a lot to live up to now. Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah, let's do this. I gotta say, John, one of the things I really love about you is your ability to just roll with the punches.
Thank you. It's been a long time. You have to learn to roll with them, right?
It's true. It's true. So let me ask you, who is John Baldino and what is your HR story?
Thank you. I don't know about the who is John Baldino. That's a deep and philosophical. I mean, think about that one. But my HR story. And my wife is in the other room. If she hears who I say I think I am, she'll come in and correct me. So I'm going to give that some thought. But
okay.
the HR story is I'm actually in human resources for 30 years. And so my career has really obviously spanned quite a while at this point.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate enough to be involved at all levels of HR, from the good old blocking and tackling up through leadership development and organizational structures and the strategic considerations around mergers and acquisitions and growing business. So I've had a lot of fun, I have to say. There's a lot of battle scars, but it's been fun.
I could only imagine. So you've touched a lot. You've gone through the ranks of HR, progressed your career. And now where are you at in your career? Are you still working with companies? Do you have your own business? Where are you at?
Yeah, so currently I am the founder and president of an HR consulting firm called Humareso. And I actually launched Humareso almost 10 years ago. And it has been amazing, right? A lot of fun. And for sure, we are engaged and involved with organizations of various sizes. So our clients run the gamut when it comes to industry, geography. Most of our clientele, I would say, is US based or US sticky. We do have some clients overseas, but there's some sort of US component to those clients as well. And I've got a wonderful team of professionals who work with me across the country who are doing great work. And so it's been my joy to build this business and for the last 10 years.
Wonderful. And I'm sure that you guys are having a great experience as you build. I got to ask you, what made you step away from corporate HR and start Humareso?
Wow. So great question, right? So for me, there were a couple contributing factors. One piece being I was serving as VP of HR for a national bank and great gig, doing good work, grew the organization and had a lot of fun with the COO in terms of just being sort of casting the chart for where we were going and giving their vision for everybody. A lot of fun. But I really started to get a sense that small to mid-market organizations were just even more so competing with larger companies, enterprise level companies for service and product offering, and needed to have the kind of support that a senior HR person, a VP of HR, CHRO, whatever title you'd like to use. At that more strategic level, they needed that kind of support.
Yeah.
But if you're a 100-person organization, you're likely not going to pay for a VP of HR. It doesn't make sense, quite honestly. And so my vision for Humareso at the onset was to be that partner for those organizations, to help them compete through areas of talent acquisition and talent management, employee engagement, organizational design and development, those things that really matter, and help to ground an organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I was right that the need is there and that the desire for it was there. But I'll tell you, it's really funny kind of being at that 10-year mark, the amount of even enterprise level organizations, though, that we work with as well, who say, well, just a second, some of the things that you're doing, we know we're bigger, but we're not doing very well in either. Can you, can you help and talk us through some of this? And one of our great pleasures is even doing some of the executive coaching with C-suite executives and business owners to kind of help them look at their organizations a little differently, and help them to sort of scale accordingly once they have a better vision. So I saw all that, and I mean, it was a blessing and a gift for me to kind of see where this was going, and I just think I hit it at the right time when I was inspired to leave and start it.
Nice. So very much like I always remember that movie Robots, where
I know Robots, yes.
Rodney Copperbottom, right? See a need, fill a need. That's what happens when you have little children going through all these different.
Oh, I was going to say my kids love that movie, and they still watch. They're all in college now, and they still watch it. So, yes. We're on the same page. Yeah. That is so funny that you bring that movie up. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that movie. Oh my gosh.
Like I feel like I know it word for word, just like I know there's certain cartoons that I know word for word because of my children. Shrek and Robots.
Yes. And for those listening, if you've never seen Robots, it is worth your time. It's actually, Robin Williams is one of the voices, and it's hilarious.
Yes.
It really is worth your time.
But there really is a great story behind it that leads to this kind of experience, right? You see a need, you feel a need. And I feel like that's the philosophy behind that in the movie is such a beautiful story. All in all, I feel like I may go watch it after this. Gotta say, right? It's still in my Netflix playlist.
Oh, I mean, we have it on DVD. I mean, you know, we've got it in many different forms, so I can watch it whenever I want. That's funny. That is very funny.
I say that because I feel like it's so important for, you know, us as HR professionals to recognize that when we see a need, to fill it. Whether it's in creating a product or a service, such as what you've done with Humareso. And I know there are lots of HR professionals who see a need, but something holds them back from filling it. What advice would you give to HR professionals who are thinking about starting a business? They see a need, they want to fill it, but they're not quite sure how to go about it.
Yeah, I would say the first thing is, take it slow. I think that sometimes HR people want to be all things to all people because we've kind of been trained that way. That, you know, especially those that have kind of come up the ranks of a for-profit organization, nonprofit, government's a little different. But if you've come up those ranks, you know, you become the catch-all as the HR professional. Can you do this? Can you do this? When I first started out in human resources, first of all, it was called personnel. It was not human resources when I first started out. I was doing a little bit of everything, a little bit of training, a little bit of customer service, a little bit of payroll, a little bit of store announcing because I was working in the retail sector. And I mean, just whatever had to happen. They knew that they could ask HR to do it and we would do it. So we carry that with us quite a bit. And so when we have an idea about a need that we see that we think we could fill, we see the need and then add all of the exponentials on top of it. Well, then I could do this, and then I could do that, and then I can do this. I'd say slow down.
Yeah.
Focus intently on that one piece. One of the parts of my story that I try to be very clear about is I knew I wanted to start an HR consulting firm.
Right.
I knew I was going to start a large business. I was not going to be a practitioner turned consultant solo.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
That just wasn't my vision for what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were, seeing a need and you're just going to be a one-person shop, that's wonderful. Don't apologize for that. You don't need to be anything bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy what you want to invest your time in.
Yeah.
That's number one. And then the second thing I would say is test your theory.
Mm-hmm.
Have some wonderful people around you that you trust, and then have some people around you who don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them the same questions.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have well-meaning people in HR who will, sing the songs to us and tell us how wonderful we are. I need some people in my life who say, hey, Baldino, you know what? You're not that terrific. And here's what's wrong with your idea. And here's where you need to be thoughtful about where you may fall down. And so people who don't have a natural inclination to want to see me win. I'm not mad at those people. I need some of those people in my life because it keeps me honest. And so when I was testing this idea with people, I had both the go, go, go and the, oh, you think you're something now? I had both of those people talking in my ears, right? And that was helpful for me to really define what it was that I was going to work towards. What needs were I going to kind of say mattered the most in what I was going to pursue. I can do all things, but I didn't want to necessarily do all things, and know that there could be time for me to add some things down the road. There's no law that says you can't add things down the road. That's okay.
That's the joy of experimentation, right?
Yes.
I love that you said, have some people who will be in your corner and then have some people who are not. Because I think for a lot of us, that calls for a measure of bravery to actually tap into those people that don't like us.
Yes.
But those people help us be better. They really do.
Absolutely. Look, there are people. I sit and chat with you today. So honestly, I'm over the moon about where my career is and the fun I'm having and the people I'm working with. Really, it's all good.
Yeah.
But there are still people who are not happy about me, with me. There are still people who hope that, sort of the rug comes out from under me. And I don't necessarily mean that I've got, a barrage of enemies who are looking for my demise, but I certainly know that there are those that feel competing with them, that I'm taking part of their territory away, or whatever people think, right? Yeah. There's plenty of business for everyone. Let me just make sure people know that there's plenty for all. Right? No one's going to go hungry. No. I tell people time and again, I come from an Italian heritage. I have cousins everywhere. Cousins everywhere, right? And my family is involved in things from birth to death, from baby doctors to funeral directors. And there are certain roles that I know are always going to, funeral directors will always have a job. But guess what? So will HR. There's always going to be people dynamic issues and opportunities. You're going to have, there's plenty of work. So those haters that want to kind of push on you, just take it in stride. I'm not mad at anyone. I am not mad at anyone. I'm telling you, it's not worth it. No time for that energy at all. No. But you can use that energy to fuel your passion. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I love that. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Sure. So I gotta ask you, if you were going to give advice to your younger self now entering the HR space, listen, I only have tea in my cup right now. I need to change what I'm having before What advice would you give to your younger self, John Baldino? Oh, my goodness. The first thing I honestly would say is I would spend time in reassurance. It's going to be okay. I think there was so much of my esteem wrapped up into how I performed that I couldn't see the difference. And so when I started, everything I did mattered way too much.
Yeah.
way too much. And so the tasks that really did matter had no difference from the ones that were just tactical task paper moving things. Everything was of equal footing. That's
Mm-hmm.
exhausting. It's
Mm-hmm.
exhausting.
Yeah.
And it's because I really didn't understand that my worth was not in what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I may have talked a good talk in my younger self as I was starting out professionally.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to start a professional journey while I was still in my undergraduate study.
Oh,
And so even more so, I was not quite mature enough to understand
yeah.
all of who I am in that, right? But what I would say also to myself is there's a world out there. I was very myopic in what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm old school, right? 30 years, I can't help it. It's
Yeah.
personnel is what I knew when I started, and it was a different sort of vibe than HR. And I know we use all kinds of terms now, human
Yeah.
capital and people operations and
Yeah.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever soup du jour it is, right, that we're saying about ourselves. But I would say I just saw it in such a small world that
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was so much more for me. And so there was a little bit in my career as I look back where I definitely was playing catch up
Mm-hmm.
because I missed the boat on some things and I was
Mm-hmm.
afraid. I was afraid to fail. And I am a little bit of an overachiever at times, and my family depends on me to be a little bit of an overachiever. When I was growing up, I did, pretty well in school, and all kinds of good things came from that. And so I think that sort of defined me. And so I needed to make sure in my career as I grew in it that this is me. This is my journey.
Yeah.
Younger Baldino, it's okay. Take it
Mm-hmm.
easy, enjoy it, put the work in, but do it to a certain extent, and then take a minute. Um, I'd want to give myself a break. That's what I would want
Nice.
to do.
I like that. Good for you. Pass that on to others.
Yeah. I try to tell people that all the time. It's so funny that you say that, Julie, because I just had a conversation with someone this week um, where I said to someone who works at Humareso, on a technology side of things, I was looking at what was going to happen as a result of implementing some of this technology, this next level of what we're
Right.
doing with some of our clients. And I said, my one concern is if we turn this on, how can we make sure it's turned off, not to bother people after hours or such? And the person I was talking to said, before I answer that question, I'd like to just say, I love working for you and I don't want to work anywhere else.
Oh,
And I said, okay.
yeah.
And he said, because the fact that that's your first thought
Oh,
says a lot. And I
mm-hmm.
meant that, right? Because I think that there's a tendency for all of us, especially earlier on in our careers, even I'll say mid-career, where you're still trying to get that next role,
Yeah.
that you feel like I've got to overperform. I've got to
Mm-hmm.
go way, way
Prove
beyond it,
yourself. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to say, let me just tell you something. There's no such thing as an emergency termination. Somebody calling you at
Okay.
8 o'clock at night and telling you that this person has to be fired right now does
Yep.
not know that person does not need to be fired right now. Send the
Mm-hmm.
person home. We'll talk about it in the morning. Have a great night.
That's right.
That's all.
That's
That's
right.
all.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, you are speaking my language in so many ways. It's not even funny. These are the things that I'm coaching, talking to HR professionals and coaching them on right now from you don't need to know it all. That's why when you build your team, you hire people who are smarter than you so
Yes.
that they can help you figure it out, right? You
Yes.
don't
Yes.
need to be the end all and begin all of everything. And you do
Yes.
not need to answer that email at 8 o'clock. And you do not need to go to that meeting at 5. You can say, look, I'm sure this can wait until tomorrow. My calendar is open. Book a time. See ya.
Yes.
Peace
See
out.
you tomorrow. That's okay.
Yes. That it is totally, those are things that I wish I had taught myself, my younger HR self.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Draw the
And
line.
as an entrepreneur too, like as
Yeah.
you're doing your own business, and again, coming back to that consultant kind of perspective, I have had clients say to me, John, do you really think it's wise to not have your staff be ready for my calls and emails at 8 o'clock at night? I mean, we could go elsewhere. Really? And I say, if our value to you is only in availability, then please let me tell you, I love you. Find that other person. Go ahead.
Yep.
You have my blessing. I'll let you out of the contract. Don't you worry your pretty little head about it. Go.
It's true. It's the same thing. Like, I don't work on Fridays. I have a 4-day work week. I've been doing 4-day work weeks for 6 years. It started in the first 4 years as just like half days. So like I'd work the morning, but by 1 o'clock shut off. But now for the last 2 years, I've tried really hard. If I say I haven't, my daughter might come in and say, you're a liar. But I've tried really hard to stay out of my office on Fridays, go do something fun for myself, spend time with my daughter, spend time with my husband, just do those things on a Friday, like rediscover the island, because there are parts of, as small as Barbados is, I know nothing. And
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
And I am discovering this country that I've lived in for most of my life from a different lens that I never knew before. And that's what Fridays have done for me. And I have clients who say, well, so if you don't take calls on Friday, I'm like, listen, you've got Monday to Thursday, right? You've got Monday to Thursday from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. because I have clients in different parts of the world.
Yes, right.
So I say from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., you've got time to book a call. You do not need my Friday. My Friday needs me.
Yeah, right.
Plain and
I think that is, whatever. And again, it's not prescriptive, right?
No.
That may not be the reality for everyone in terms of saying that it has to be Fridays, but you need to know where health has to be paid attention to.
That's right.
If it's not healthy for you to work 70 hours a week so that you are a miserable lump on Saturdays and Sundays, and your family only gets the lump, that's going to cause stress for you.
Yeah.
If your friends only get the lump on the weekends, it's going to cause stress for you. You are going to go from excitement about this role, whether you're in-house or consulting.
Yeah.
You're going to go from excitement to resentment.
Yeah.
It's a quick jump. It will not take that very long to happen. And
it's like going from 0 to 100.
Just like that. You're absolutely right. And so I have sat in those seats. Some years back, I won, this is funny, right? I won HR Person of the Year. And look at me, la-di-da. And so I couldn't go to the awards ceremony because I was working in another state for the organization. And they knew that I was up for this award. Now, I will tell you truthfully, I did not think I was going to win. Right. Between us, I just thought I wasn't going. But how lovely to be nominated.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was going, and I said, look, on the off chance that I win, just accept the award on my behalf, like it's the Oscars, thanks so much. And didn't think I won. And so I wasn't there for it because I was working late at night in another state and missed this opportunity to be recognized. Now, I'm not saying that now that I'm, super bitter at all that, but I am saying, how many times you can win something like that?
And
how could that not have been something to celebrate and kind of
be there
keep
for
us separate, right? And do that. We do that in human resources.
Yes,
we become so sacrificial to the extreme, and we have to be really careful about that.
Oh yes, because it messes with our mental health like nothing else.
Yes.
Which brings me to my next question.
Okay.
How do you practice self-care?
I do it in a few different ways, I would say. I am now this will crack people up, right? I am up at 4:30 every morning and head right to the gym. I work out at least 5 days a week.
Okay.
And so the physical exercise for me is very healthy for my mind as much as it is my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably in the gym about an hour and 15. And it's a great way for me to start my day.
Yeah.
After doing that, every morning, I take time to read and journal and pray. And so I set my tone for the day with that as well. So I really am very committed to physical, emotional, spiritual perspectives first thing.
Yep.
And if I'm away and I got to be up earlier and do things differently because of what the requirements are, then I need to get up earlier for that to happen.
Yeah.
I cannot compromise on those things, because once I start doing that, I'm off center.
Yeah.
And I'm unhappy and unhealthy.
Yeah. You don't want to lose yourself.
Yeah. But I'd also say the other component for me is relationship. And so there are just, a few people. You don't need a million people.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that I'm extroverted. I know that may be a surprise to some people who are listening, but I'm an extrovert. I'm like energized by people, all of that good stuff. But I really only have a few that I'm super deep with, because that's just how it is, especially this stage of my life. And so I keep those relationships active and communicative. And so that includes my wife. And so we chat a lot, often. And I think that you just have to make sure that those things matter. And by doing so, you show that they matter by making time for them.
That's it.
So I think those things help for sure with me keeping steady and stable. It's been a difficult couple of years, right? It's been a difficult couple of years.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's been probably the saddest for me to observe and be a part of, just because of the work that I get to do, are the relationships that have become fractured and distant because of either political perspectives or social perspectives or business perspectives. A lot of blame, a lot of frustration. And so what people don't realize is I think I'm shooting arrows at other people and telling them how terrible they've been to me. But that quiver full of arrows is me that I'm shooting at people. And once that quiver is empty, what do I have? What if I've used all my energy and resources to hurt others? I don't have anything, and I've alienated myself from so many. I'm dealing with some senior level business professionals who are on the personal level just in that situation, and it's difficult. It's difficult to watch, because I know they're in pain.
Hard times, hard situations.
Right. And it's not that we don't get it. Like we get what's going on the past couple of years. But I think if we're going to try to maintain healthy perspective, is this worth it? I mean, that's one of the questions that I ask all the time. Is it worth it? What's the end game? What does success look like as a result of you following this path? You don't want this person to talk to you anymore? Okay. Is that the goal? And if it is, what does that goal get you? They'll be out of my life. Okay. And as a result, what? Well, then I don't have to worry about them. You don't have to worry about them now without doing anything else. So it doesn't have to go that far.
It's true.
So I think, right, people are expending a lot of energy because they've been suffering in isolation. They've been suffering with the stress of everything that has gone on in the workplace, the stress for those with children and the school situations across the globe, what that's been like. Pepper in political turmoil, social injustice. Oh, now a war happening, an absolute
economic hardships. Everything.
Yes.
It's everything. And it's just crazy. These are the times that we're living in, but we don't have to make it harder for ourselves. So to your point, I appreciate that.
Yes.
Let me ask you, what are you reading, watching, listening to right now that you think our audience would appreciate? And remember, it doesn't have to be HR related.
Good. Because I would fail you, I think. I am reading, actually have it. I am reading a book called The Sweet Spot. And The Sweet Spot is by Paul Bloom. And it was, I'm a part of a book club with Adam Grant and some other professionals who make some recommendations. And so this particular book is about suffering, right? There's a light topic for you, right? It's about suffering, but it's really, it comes at it from the angle of what's the benefit of it? You know, so often we spend some time trying to avoid it, but you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to go looking for it. It will come.
Yeah.
And so what can we do with it? How do we take it? And is it true that a life well lived is better than a life of only pleasure? And if it's true, then that life well lived is going to be full of moments of suffering. And so just learning how to look at it, how it plays into your life. Very fascinating book. I'm not all the way through it yet, but just about. I'm watching, so my wife and I are watching The Gilded Age on HBO Max, which is a period piece from the same people who did Downton Abbey. Fascinating because it's early on in New York City's history. And so watching the caste system and the struggle, not just by social status, but by racial status then as well, and how people functioned in that. And so, again, fascinating kind of to look at the historical relationships in that regard. And then I would say from a listening standpoint, I've really found some great stuff on some of the mental health apps that are out. That as I go on a walk later in the afternoon, just as the workday's ending, just to sort of give myself a cool down mentally, maybe 30 minutes just to go for a walk. And I'm fortunate enough to live in a climate now that I can walk most of the year outside and it not be a problem, right? So I know that's not the case for everybody, but those things have been really helpful for me.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing those.
Sure.
We'll include them in the comments. Last question, the big one. What's the biggest misconception about HR that really bothers you that you want to set the record straight on right here, right now?
If people think that human resources is going to solve every problem, they're mistaken. What human resources ought to be doing is bringing the resources to bear to those with whom collaboration and ideation can happen about its application. If HR is always looked at as being well, John, just write a policy for this and then everything will be okay. Then you've not set up the perspective of human resources well in your organization, right? Pump those brakes and say, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me help you to understand how this is going to work. If we need a policy, we can talk about that. But let's first look at all of the facts that we're dealing with. Let's put them all out on the table or up on a whiteboard or some virtual board together and say, what do you see when you see all this? I don't know. Here's some resources. Let's look at how these resources could help with some of these. What do you see? What matters to your team? Let's bring in some of the team. It doesn't need to just be, the superior powers of the organization making all the decisions. Take a pulse check of the people with you. That's what human resources ought to be doing, is helping to open these doors for communication and creativity and innovation to say, how do we approach these things? It has to stop being the office of prescription. It must stop being that.
Oh my goodness. Stop being the office of prescription. I love that. I'm stealing that. Just so you know, if you see it on my Twitter account later today, you know it's from our conversation.
Awesome.
Stop being the office of prescription. I'm going to write that down. Seriously. I cannot thank you enough for all of your wisdom, your insights, and just being so vulnerable. This is a new format to HR Sound Off, and I really appreciate you being one of the first people to actually try it out. in terms of the questions that I'm asking now. But I feel like this was such a great conversation, John. Thank you.
Well, you are welcome, and you are very kind to ask me to be a part of it. And so I'm grateful to travel this newer road, right? I'm glad. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I believe in the value of experimentation, but just as you said, to your point about HR, again, I think I wrote a post on this some time back where I talked about you don't have to have all of the answers. And if you don't have the answers, you have to recognize the difference between giving an answer and a coachable moment, a teachable moment. Because so many times as HR, we miss those opportunities. And I remember somebody going on not a rant, but commenting back on my post and saying, well, yeah, but I've tried being the teacher, I've tried being the coach, it doesn't work. And I'm like, well, what words did you use? Because it's about what you say and how you say it.
100%. And it's so funny, Julie, because you and I probably can do a whole other episode around around this, because we both have worked with people that didn't want to hear the teachableness that we could bring. They made a decision that they didn't want to participate. So just because someone doesn't want to participate in the receiving of that doesn't mean that what's being offered is wrong, right? When someone says, I tried that and it didn't work, okay, so you tried to exercise one day and the results didn't happen immediately. So what, you'll never do it again? Yeah. That can't be the way that we approach these things. It's an immature approach.
Technically, that's how I approach exercise, John. Sorry.
If you're going to approach it, right? If you're going to approach it.
What is next for John Baldino?
Oh my goodness. Well, if I would say, so we're one of the nice things about this time of year is that it's sort of the prep for getting back together in person at some conferences again, which will be really great. I'm fortunate enough to be speaking at some. I'm excited to get on that journey again, just because I want to, see people. I miss people.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. And then we are doing some pretty amazing things at Humareso as far as the HR work that we're providing. And we've got some really cool technology pieces that are going to get launched and expanded upon this year too. So it's just fun. Really, it's the word I'm going to use all the time. We're just in a really fun time right now. So I'm excited.
Beautiful. Where can people find you on social media, John?
It won't be hard. Apparently, I have opinions. And so on Twitter, apparently, right? That's the rumor.
Rumor has it.
Obviously on LinkedIn, look up John Baldino HR and I'll pop right up. On Twitter, you can find me at JBAlive, as in not dead, but alive.
Right.
And please feel free to connect with me there and be happy to chat with anyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And also we can find John on But First Coffee with Jackie Clayton.
Yes.
What days? Where?
Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, LinkedIn Live.
Yes.
And that show is something else.
Bananas. I love it.
It is bananas.
Absolutely bananas. I learned that John Baldino does not know how to play golf. Neither does he care to play golf.
No, I do not. 100%. And it's so funny how once in a while that will come up, but no, I will not be playing golf. So sorry.
Yeah. So sorry, boys club. You're not going to get him that way.
You won't get me that way.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you, Julie. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us in the sound booth today. I hope that you found this information from this episode useful. You can find me on all social media platforms at I am Julie Turney. That's I-am Julie Turney. And you can find this episode or this show on most digital platforms, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, you name it, we're there. Thanks to Rock Solid Entertainment for helping me to put this content together for you. And I will see you again in the next Sound Off.